What's up in War Eagle War Report family? You got Ike Jones. We are back with another morning drop this morning discussing Auburn landing commit Joseph Phillips for the 2024 class. You know, we had to talk about it right here, and you know how we do War Report style. Let's drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Morning drop. We're in here Friday, June 16th. You got Ike Jones, Mike G in the place to be, man. We're discussing Joseph Phillips coming over to the Plains. Mike G, how you feeling this morning?
Feeling pretty good. We were talking about if Hugh Freeze could flip some guys from Bama earlier in the week, and here he is flipping guys from Georgia, Ike.
Hey, man, listen, It's good to see that happening, man.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we are here with the Morning Drop. As always, RogueShop.com is the sponsor of the Morning Drop. Make sure you all head over to Rogue Shop using code RAPPORT. That lets them know that the War Report sent you over there. It is Father's Day weekend. Maybe there's a father in your life that wants to get like a little relaxation going on. Tell them to head over to the Rogue Shop, or you head over to the Rogue Shop. Don't send them there. You head over to the Rogue Shop, get them a little something. Maybe you get a little Mike G candle. You know, it's not called a Mike G candle, but maybe to get them a little candle or something for Father's Day, something like that. But anyway, man, head over to the Rogue Shop. Again, using code RAPPORT. It lets them know we sent you over there. But Mike G, Joseph Phillips comes in as a four-star recruit linebacker out of Tuskegee, Alabama. What do we know about Joseph Phillips and this guy who chose Auburn over Georgia?
Well, he took an official visit to Georgia June the 2nd through the 4th. He went to Tennessee the 9th through the 11th. Then he came to Auburn. So 6'3" linebacker. He was on campus last Thursday for an unofficial visit, and it looked like it went well. So he joins Auburn as Auburn's 8th member of this 2024 class. What we know about him is they like him for a jack linebacker position, right? Phillips noted that they needed linebackers. Our guy Caleb Williams over at Auburn Rivals, AuburnSports.com, did a write-up on him, and he was quoted as saying that it just means I got a better chance of coming to play. Though, right? Next year, I know they're not going to get that many. They're going to get like 2 or 3 people. So you still have a good chance to come and play. Just got to play ball, right? So remember when we talked about what is the most effective recruiting pitch for Hugh Freeze right now? Right now, they're selling playing time. Come here, you can play. We need guys. We need dudes, right? I know that message will change in the future, but right now it's an effective one. They're continuing to utilize it, and it worked here on Phillips. So this was a guy that Auburn went head-to-head with Georgia for. Rivals top 250 guy, 208th nationally. Right down the road from in Tuskegee, 11th player in the state. So taking back the state is something that we talked about as well too. Getting top 15 players out of your own backyard is so important to recruiting at Auburn, because realistically, that's when they've been the most successful, is recruiting in their backyard and getting players out of the states of Georgia and Florida. So Phillips hails from Tuskegee, just a real good pick. And then he noted the relationship with the coaches, Ike, lastly, right? He said, I've talked to every coach they have, from personnel coaches all the way to the highest form you got, assuming that's Hugh Freeze. I ain't got to walk around with a name tag. Everybody just knows that's Joe, which I like that too. So they made him feel at home. They made him feel important. Big part of the recruiting process is they make these kids feel like it's going to be their world while they're here. And that's how you snag recruits from Georgia. So great job to Hugh Freeze and company for getting this one.
Look, this is the kind of recruiting trip that I heard about when I heard about the lore of what Hugh Freeze was as a recruiter, about making these guys who are highly touted recruits come in and they feel the energy and how special it feels. Like the building knows that you're there. It feels as if they're catering things to you. These are the things that I had heard about, and I was looking forward to hearing those stories coming back out. So definitely props to Coach Hugh Freeze for kind of just setting the environment that allows these top-notch recruiters to go out there and do their things. But Joseph Phillips, again, from Tuskegee, Alabama, right now, 6'3", 230 pounds, right? He's already a grown man. Let me just put that in perspective for you. And you said he's going to be a jack linebacker, right? So what the jack linebacker room looks like right now is 6'6", 271. That's Elijah McAllister.
Mhm.
6'6", 288. But then you go 6'3", 262, 6'3", 239, and 6'1", 237.
Right.
Right. And then Steven Sings, who just got there, 6'3", 255. He's just, 20 pounds away from being a guy that already looks like a collegiate athlete, right? And so if he is able to get his weight up in that offseason program, he's committed right now. Of course, he would need to sign in the early signing period to be able to be there during the spring. But if he's able to do that, this is a guy who can come in and pay dividends immediately for this team. Uh,
Mhm.
and if he's going to play some sort of interior linebacker, he's already the size of a lot of the linebackers we have in that interior linebacker room. So definitely a good pickup for this staff in the recruiting rankings. But listen, you said there's 8 recruits right now that have committed. 6 of those 8 are 4-stars.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's not as if, we're just getting whoever wants to. Right now, they are picking up commitments from this staff from from guys who other teams definitely want. Of course, and I said it would happen if we were to flip some of the Bama guys. Georgia folks, for whatever reason, are trying to pretend like Georgia didn't want this kid on.
No, man, listen.
I don't get why that has to be the core. And listen, Auburn fans do it too. I'm not accusing other fan bases of being the only ones of acting as if, well, we moved on from him. We didn't really want him anyway. Georgia absolutely wanted it. They thought he was coming as of the night before he actually committed to
That's
Auburn.
right. That's right.
So all of this talk about, well, we didn't want him. It's silly. It's just silly.
Ultimately, I think Georgia has the type of problem that we've talked about, Ike, where you're pulling in 5-star recruiting classes, and you've got 5-star athletes, and if you're 4-star, you believe in yourself, but you also am just like, am I going there to sit on the bench,
Right?
or do I have a chance to come in and play 2 years and then out, or 3 years and then out?
Right.
I thought that he said playing time was a big deal. And, they identified him at this all important jack linebacker position that we keep talking about in Ron Roberts' defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so important. So they noted that he would be an ideal candidate for that. And, he liked what they were selling him. So, ultimately, the message from Hugh Freeze to these recruits seems like it's a good one.
Yeah.
Seems like it's a really good one, and they're going to have to continue down that path if they want to have success. But this commitment climbs Auburn into the top 30 in recruiting, depending on what recruiting service you're looking at.
Right.
Rivals has them at 30, 247 has them at 28. Either way, they're climbing the recruiting rankings right now. So I expect Hugh Freeze to land a top 15 class when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the time early signing day is done, it feels logical if you keep the class intact. And there seems to be a lot of synergy, right? So if you keep the class intact as is, then you definitely have a shot at top 15 for early signing day. The other thing of note, and we talked about this when talking about the last 2 commits, is in addition to this commitment from Phillips, you have Jamarian Burnett, who was already committed, aka Fat. Made his commitment solidify. He was like, look, man, I'm shutting this thing down, bro. Like, we good. Like,
right.
don't call my phone no more. I'm going to Auburn. Why y'all still talking to me? Right. Like, he made it official that I don't want to continue to take trips or visits going into this school year. Auburn is the place that I want to go. And that's the second such commit that had been committed for a while, Amani Lane being the other one, that decided, hey, man, I've seen enough. I've heard enough. Auburn. We're going to end. They're making that pretty clear on their social media too. They're helping to recruit other athletes to this class. I feel like the buy-in to what Coach Hugh Freeze is building has been. This isn't unique, right? Like, we saw Brayton Joyner do this before. We've seen Damari Alston has done this before. I don't know that I've seen this many of the kids that have been committed. I think Walker White has definitely led the charge on this. But a lot of the other guys that are in this class have taken up the banner of saying, hey, I want you to come play on the same squad with me. Let's go ahead and go down to Auburn together.
Yeah.
And again, not saying that that's unique to Auburn, not saying this is the first time it's ever happened at Auburn. I haven't personally witnessed, and this is, admittedly a guy who hasn't followed recruiting super heavily up until the last year and a half, really. Haven't seen this many young men within the class all champion this effort to say we're going to make the best recruiting class possible. We're going to break the mold of what you guys consider to be a good Auburn class, and we're going to blow this out of the water this year.
Yeah, well, early signing day, you don't have the time to flip-flop anymore. Unless you're a top guy, unless you're one of those top 50 guys that they're going to hold a spot for, you don't have the time to flip-flop. Classes are going to fill up at premier institutions for football, and you've got to get in there. You've got to secure your spot, and you've got to start planning out your future. I think that it doesn't bode well for guys who wait till the last minute. So, get committed someplace, get into camp in the spring, and get a jump start on your college football career. Yeah. That's the name of the game right now. Early signing day has kind of changed it for a lot of these guys. So commit early and start recruiting for your institution. Start caping for the guys that you want to play with.
Right.
At the end of the day, because if I'm Walker White is not leaving it all on Hugh Freeze and staff. He's saying, I'm gonna make sure I get the guys I want to throw to in here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure I get the linemen I want blocking for me in here.
Right.
So, for Phillips, I hope that we see him in the same mold, shut it down, say no more. Thanks,
and
guys.
I think that'd be
Auburn.
big. I think it'd be huge to get a guy who is this highly touted coming in and, because listen, Walker White is phenomenal. He's been tremendous out there. And he is a guy who is, highly regarded as a good commit at quarterback. I think Phillips is kind of in a different mold of linebacker, though, where it's like, wait a minute. I think that turns heads a little bit on the defensive side now, where you've got a guy who people are looking at and saying, okay, wait a minute, this kid's going to Auburn. All right.
Right. Right.
So maybe we need take a second look down there. Like
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, listen, they're not going to stop recruiting. You got to keep recruiting. And, 8 kids. I'm not sure how many kids they can take in this cycle. I have to go back and look. I'll ask Caleb how many guys they can take in this cycle, but you assume it's going to be something over 20. Between 20 and like 30. I mean, we've seen Texas A&M have a class with 30 plus, right? So at the end of the day, they've got to go out and they've maybe got this class a third of the way full right now. So they've got to go out and find the other 66% of that and make sure they're filling it with guys who actually fill spots that they want. They want to focus on. And I think Hugh Freeze has been doing a great job of that. I don't think anybody can deny that, right? They have been very focused in recruiting, not only out of high school, but in the portal at the positions that they feel like are the biggest areas of need. So, not just taking stars, but trying to get guys that fit. And then if you believe in the development piece that we've talked about so much since the inception of this show, then you believe that Hugh Freeze can take these guys, they've got enough talent, and turn them into all SEC players and SEC champions. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, that is what is, I was talking with a friend of mine. Shout out to you guys know Keontae. So he's a War Report original out here. Yeah. I was talking to him recently and about kind of the momentum that we have going on. And I was like, yeah, man, it all feels great, but this is going to feel terrible if we don't go out here and at least put 8 wins on it. It's like, oh yeah, recruiting. But it's like, you got to go out there and show it on the field. Right. So, but because that's really what's going to help turn the corner, right? Like A&M's best class ever in history, the very next season doesn't show the dividends on the field. And now all of a sudden that becomes a thing that everybody's making a joke out of about, like, you guys did all of that to get this big, great recruiting class, and then you don't have any wins to show for it that next season. It feels anticlimactic. Right now, they have the opportunity this year to bounce back with all of that talent that remains, right? Whatever remained from that class, staying there, and in year 2 now being able to get more of that on the field. And we'll see whether or not that amazing signing class is going to pay dividends on the field for them. But I don't want that to be the story of Hugh Freeze's first signing class, or this first momentum in his first full signing class, to be, oh man, you did all of that noise in the offseason and then you go win 6 games during the regular season, right?
Right.
So
terrible. That'd be terrible.
These folks that are here right now need to take it upon themselves to say, we're not going to let that be the narrative of this. And I think that sets us up, coming out those first 4 or 5 games of the season and putting a good showing on the field puts you in a position for early signing day to be a big opportunity for this staff. They can see the kids can see the momentum out there on the field. They can see all of the recruiting momentum off the field, and that would set you up for a phenomenal early signing day.
No, agreed.
All right, y'all. Well, listen, we love talking about this stuff, but we love hearing from you all, and we want to, but right quick, let's talk about, again, the sponsor for today's morning drop is Rogue Shop. Make sure you all head over to rogueshop.com, use code rapport. That gets you a little something off your purchase, and it lets them know that the War Report sent you over here. I want to hear what you all are talking about, so we're going to go to the comments section and see how you all are feeling about the addition of Joseph Phillips to this 2024 signing class. We'll get the comments kicked off here with James Barnett, who says, fellas, remember I asked the question, if we can flip a Bama and Georgia recruit, we would have a top 10 or better class. We're headed that direction, right? I think it's gonna, and Mike talks about this all the time. All it really takes is, 1 or 2 5-stars added to what they have in the pot, and your recruiting rankings jump tremendously just because of what that composite score ends up being. If they're able to get 1 or 2 of those in there, then we have a legitimate shot at a top 10 class, I believe.
I agree. Listen, Hugh Freeze is aiming for top 6 to 7. So, that's his goal. Make no mistake. Top 10 is not good enough. He understands. Top 10 could still have you like middle of the pack in the SEC if you're on the lower half of that. So, you got to go out there and you got to get the recruits. He knows he's got to get as close to, the top 6 or 7 in the country as he possibly can.
Yeah. Let's see. Ant Robinson jumps in and says, if this doesn't show Hugh is a top-notch recruiter, then hey, I agree. I don't know if anyone should be in debate about whether or not Hugh Freeze is a top-notch recruiter. He's done it before, and people, again, question whether or not it was by reputable means, but he's doing it again. And, you do something one time, and people can call it a fluke. But when you do it again and again and again, then at some point in time, you have to say, okay, they're good at this, right? People will definitely argue that first time was a fluke based upon the circumstances surrounding it. But if he's going to do it again this time, and I mean, because listen, what he did in the 23 class, I think was pretty phenomenal. From taking the class where it was, getting a couple of big flips happening before signing day in that one was a great job there. And then to repeat it now during this full recruiting cycle, getting this class in a better position than a lot of people kind of the momentum in the direction that we're in with a signing like this. You can't argue with the results. Like, you can talk about what a lot of things. Results is one thing that it's hard to argue. And he's producing the results right now that show, yes, he is a top-notch head coach recruiter, because there's a lot of ace recruiters on this staff. 2 of the best recruiters on this staff were on the previous staff.
That's right.
Still different.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, Hugh Freeze was hired in large part because of his ability to recruit. If you bemoan the way the last guy did it, you got to love how this guy's doing it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Haley jumps in and says, it is necessary to get the guys in our backyard, talking about Phillips right here in Tuskegee. Man, Tuskegee right up the road.
Yeah.
That was a quick trip for us in college to go down to Tuskegee and have a fun night. So
fun is debatable. But
I had fun at ski. Well, some nights was a little too much, but yeah.
I'll tell you what. I mean, Haley's right here. You gotta get the guys in your backyard. You're not gonna have a successful tenure at Auburn if you cannot recruit, what's around you, which is a lot of talent. So, get these guys who are coming out of your home state and start to build something special. Now, like I said, proof of concept on the field this fall will have a lot to do with whether those guys continue to commit to you. But ultimately, Auburn's got the facilities, they've got the tradition, they've got the historical prestige, they've got everything they need to continue to build this thing the right way. They just need the results on the field, I think, and you'll see this trending toward top 5 year in and year out.
Yep. Daniel Moultrie jumps in. Perry Thompson's on campus today. Do I smell a flip?
Hopefully he talked to Joseph Phillips on his way out. You flip from Georgia, fam? What's going on? So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We listed off 5 guys. Go back and look at that morning drop that Auburn was in a direct head-to-head with Bama trying to flip. Then Perry Thompson was one of them. So, 5-star guy, man. Let's see what Hugh can do.
Yep. Hopefully, they give him good pitch. The thing about this, and I think that Perry Thompson is a phenomenal guy. I think Auburn's in it for some other really good wide receivers. So I expect this to be a really talented wide receiver class that they're able to pull together. This would be a big feather in the cap of Marcus Davis for his first recruiting class if he's able to pull in 2 or 3 of those names that are on the board right now for Auburn, that a lot of teams out there want. And Perry Thompson would absolutely be a crowning achievement for his first recruiting class at wide receiver to pull in someone this big, especially if he were able to flip that from an Alabama commitment.
Yeah, somebody showing where that truck dealership is at. That Jarquez and Peyton Thorne like to frequent.
Yeah. James Morris jumps in and says, "Is this what it feels like to steal someone from UGA? I like it. It's been a while to have that feeling for sure. We're not completely foreign to that feeling. Tank Bigsby was a highly sought after Georgia recruit that we were able to get into the fold. So, and that's just one of them I'm naming, right? Like Owen Papo, Georgia really wanted him, right? Like we've got some guys that Georgia wanted that have come in this direction over the years, but it's been a while since that happened, and it definitely feels good to have us back in that space again.
Right. Listen, this has got to be a trend. This has got to be a trend for Hugh Freeze. If you're going to go up against the best, you've got to beat them in head-to-head in recruiting for your fair share of these guys. So, I mean, that's all it boils down to. Results on the field have to show this. And Hugh Freeze his challenge this fall, I can't stress enough, is going to be produce a product that creates hope and excitement this fall. So that means you can't miss a bowl game, because that will be the opposite of creating hope. You can't miss a bowl game. So at the very least, you got to make a bowl game, and then you need to beat somebody nobody expects you to beat. Right? Get one upset this fall, man. I'm telling you. And that's
one upset, and don't have any teams that you're supposed to beat.
Correct.
Beat you, right?
Right.
Hold serve, and
don't
then
lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, right. You can't lose to Vandy. You can't lose to like Samford or something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you really can't lose to Cal. Like, let's be clear. You shouldn't lose to Cal.
Don't win that game. Yeah, find a way to win that game. I don't care. I don't care if it's pretty, especially early. Get the W and figure it out as the season goes along. But win the games you're supposed to win. Beat somebody you're not supposed to beat. And then watch this thing continue to trend up. He doesn't have to go out and win 10 games this season.
No.
To show it. I mean, I think 7 to 8 would be good, and then just pull off an upset somewhere, brother Hugh. Give us one.
Yep. You get one that you're not supposed to get, and this thing looks way different going into the 2024 season. And let's be clear, we went through what the 2024 season is supposed to look like. You need that momentum going into that season, because there's a couple of things on the line, right? Like the SEC schedule flips and no more divisions, right? So you just need to go out there and win as many games as you can in conference. Forget about, winning your division and then getting to Atlanta. Like, you need to win as many games as possible so that you put yourself in that position. And you set yourself up for the ability to get into the playoff for the first year, the 12-team playoff. So you need that momentum, absolutely. And it's going to take the right guys, right? You're not going to, Mike G says this often, you're not going to be able to outdevelop all of these. That's not going to happen when you're going up against the Alabamas and the Georgias and the LSUs and the Texas A&M. You can't outdevelop those teams consistently. You may could sneak them every now and then, but you're not going to outdevelop your way into being a perennial powerhouse in this conference. So you need the guys that are out there on the field making it happen as well.
Yep, absolutely. 100% agree.
Daniel Mocher, I think I already said this when we have to lock up our backyard. Hey, you said that a little bit earlier. Corey Weber says, can we consider Phillips a flip? He wasn't committed to Georgia, just leaning their way. I wouldn't say he's a flip. I would definitely say we stole that recruit.
Yeah, listen,
it was a head-to-head. Is locked up.
Yeah, it was a head-to-head.
Yeah.
So even though he wasn't committed, they wanted him and they thought he was coming. So yeah, you know what? Like, flip. You flipped him. Damn it. I'll take this one from me this morning, Corey.
Yeah, listen, now, again, there was no one who is in the know in that Georgia sphere thought that he was leaving from Georgia. And listen, Georgia's pretty much in the position right now where they just name who's the guy that we want. Let's go get him, and they get him. Like, that's not that. Let's be clear. If they have wanted a recruit over the last kind of 5 seasons, Georgia got him. Again, there haven't been too many guys that they absolutely had high on their board that didn't come to school there.
Yeah, for sure.
And they definitely weren't choosing Auburn over the last 3 to 4 years if Georgia was a guy that was a place that they really wanted to land. So this is absolutely now. Listen, I'm not spiking the ball on the 1 yard line here. He's still got to sign, right?
Right.
Him, giving us his commitment does not mean that he makes it to signing day and actually comes over. They're still going to be fighting for him, right? I don't think Georgia is giving up on this commitment just because he was like, well, I'm going to go to Auburn real quick. They're absolutely going to still try to recruit him, try to get him in for a visit and change his mind. But it is a time to show that Coach Hugh Freeze and staff are at least getting guys to look in this direction and say, hey, they're cooking something up over there that I want to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Listen, at the end of the day, you're right. You can't spike the ball on the 1 yard line. But I will stress for these guys who want to get into spring camp, and that'll probably be something we do, Ike, is go back and look at how many of the commits are on track to graduate and get into spring ball, because those are probably the most solid commitments you have.
Yeah. Absolutely. French T. Taylor, thank you for the super chat this morning, says after this next class our chances for competing for the 2024 national championship is for real. Our 2 deep should be respectable to make the playoffs.
And we got one of the most favorable schedules for the 2024 cycle. I don't like playing Georgia and Bama on the road that season, but still, I thought it was a very favorable schedule. Ike, did you see Florida's schedule? Oh, my goodness.
Florida's schedule. So we actually talked about this on the Amen Corner. Shout out to Paul and Kenny B. So that's going to be dropping for you guys on Monday. Make sure you tune into that because we looked at more of the SEC as a whole in their schedule. But Florida's schedule in the SEC isn't terrible. But when you add their non-con stuff in there, they play Miami, UCF, and Florida State out of conference. Plus, they play their 8-team schedule. And they end up having, I think, Texas on that schedule.
Hold on, wait. Yeah, it's 11 P5 opponents. Yeah. Right? Like, it was 11 P5 opponents. I was just like, wait, what? Like, how did that happen? So they got their schedule is at home they have LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Georgia, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. Right. And then they're at Texas. They have Miami. They have UCF. And then their lone cupcake is the Sanford Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Yikes, man. That's a rough schedule.
Yeah.
Rough.
If Florida wins 10 games that season.
Yeah. They should be the number 1 team in the country with the schedule. I don't care. We went 2 losses. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I don't even understand how you make it through that gauntlet and come out unscathed. Like they got some work to do to get ready for that season. I feel bad for Florida.
Oklahoma's schedule ain't looking too great for 2024 either.
Yeah.
Well, yikes. I took a look at theirs and I was like, oh, this is going to be a rough time for them. Welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, no, they certainly had the most rude awakening coming into the SEC. Texas is not bad. Oklahoma's is terrible.
Yeah, for sure.
Last one here. John Brandon jumps in and says Joseph Phillips might be a major turning point in our recruiting journey.
Yeah, I mean, or Perry Thompson, because he's on campus today. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, but I think Phillips is a good harbinger, like at a point where it's like, okay, like I don't know how you don't take Auburn a little more seriously on the recruiting trail now when you see a Joseph Phillips come over. And again, listen, I'm not celebrating the commitment too heavily because they still have to sign, but it is a good sign that we're moving in the right direction when you get a young man like that committed to your team. So hopefully they're going to continue with this momentum and get us to early signing day, landing somewhere in that top 15, maybe even top 10 with a couple more guys coming on. They are not done yet by any means. If you think they're stopping at 8 recruits, then you just haven't been following college football enough. So there's a lot more to come, and we are looking forward to seeing what's going to be happening out there. But we're going to get out of here. We appreciate you all dropping in with us this morning. As always, make sure you head over to rogueshop.com. Use code RAPPORT for that. We'll be back at you all on Sunday. Yes, we will still be here Sunday on Father's Day. So hopefully all of you fathers will have a good weekend and come back and holler at us on Sunday. If you're spending time with your dad and you won't be here on Sunday, then thank you very much for continuing to support what we got going on. But Until the next time we see you guys, we appreciate you. Like the video before you get out of here. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video with somebody else. We'll be back at you guys later. Till next time, and as always, War Eagle. Peace.